For centuries, kings and emperors around the world fought for gold. It symbolized wealth, power, and splendor. But in ancient China, for thousands of years, gold gave way to another material: jade. And not because it was more expensive or brighter. No, the reason goes much deeper. Why was jade more valuable than gold in China? Jade is not just a stone, but a hard and smooth mineral that in ancient China was mined in rivers and mountains, most often in Xinjiang, in distant Khotan, or in Chinese Hetian. Unlike soft gold, which melts easily and takes the desired shape, jade is incredibly hard. Each object made from it was carved by hand, slowly, patiently, sometimes for months or even years. This required enormous skill and discipline. It was precisely these qualities that made jade a symbol of the ideal person in Chinese philosophy. While gold glittered and tempted with wealth, jade symbolized inner strength, morality, and eternity. If gold showed how rich you were, jade showed how worthy you were to rule. That is why Chinese emperors and officials adored it so much. Not just as jewelry, but as a symbol of power. Imperial seals, for example, the legendary seal of the heir of heaven, were carved exclusively from jade. They conveyed the mandate of heaven to rule. Ritual tablets, scepters, belts, everything was made of jade. Only the emperor and the highest elite could possess certain objects. Wearing jade meant demonstrating not the power of weapons, but moral superiority and the right to the throne. But the most astonishing thing is that jade was considered a bridge between life and eternity. Ancient Chinese believed that it preserved the body from decay and protected the soul in the afterlife. One example of the ritual importance of jade is the so-called jade burial suit. During the tense years of the Cultural Revolution, China began implementing a number of national defense projects in case of a potential foreign invasion. But on May 22, 1968, while blasting rock to build an air raid shelter near the summit of Mount Lingshan in Hebei province, a group of Chinese soldiers discovered something extraordinary: an untouched tomb about 2,000 years old. Inside rested the bodies of Liu Sheng, a prince of the Western Han era, and his wife Do Wan. Both died in the 2nd century BC. Elderly people in China traditionally prepare special burial clothing in advance, called shui, literally longevity clothing. However, the nobility of the Han era preferred far more complex burial garments, such as jade suits, also known as jade coffins. Completely composed of jade plates connected with gold, silver, or copper wire, they were a sign of the highest status. Liu Sheng's jade suit consisted of 2,498 jade plates and 1,100 grams of gold thread, while his wife's suit included 2,160 plates and 700 grams of gold. Today, the jade suits of Liu Sheng and Do Wan are exhibited in the Hebei Provincial Museum in its capital city, Shijiazhuang. Since ancient times, the Chinese wore jade ornaments in everyday life as well. For example, at the cultural sites of Liangzhu, located near modern Hangzhou in Zhejiang province and considered one of the oldest civilizations in the world, more than 4,000 years old, archaeologists have discovered numerous jade ornaments and discs. Interestingly, over time, similar jade discs were required to be worn by officials when communicating with foreigners. Because jade symbolically protected the official, confirmed his legitimacy, and demonstrated the moral and cultural superiority of the Celestial Empire. In the Book of Rites, a collection of texts compiled mainly by Confucius's students during the Han era, it is said, "A noble man does not part with his jade without reason." In addition to its value for the living, ancient Chinese believed that jade was capable of preventing the body from decay. Gu Heng, a famous physician and Taoist thinker of the Jin era, wrote in the treatise Bao Puzi, "If gold and jade are placed in the 9 openings of the body, the dead will become immortal." By the 9 openings, he meant the eyes, mouth, ears, 2 nostrils, genitals, and anus. Therefore, jade burial suits often included covers for the eyes, plugs for the nose and ears, mouthpieces, small boxes to cover the genitals, and jade anal plugs.
Ouch!
Since the topic has gone so deep, it is worth mentioning one of the interesting properties of jade: the awakening of intersexuality. Many who study the Chinese language know the expression jade stem, which literally means the reproductive organ. And by the way, the first adult toys were made in China precisely from jade. But let us return to jade burial suits. During the Han era, lavish burials became common, and the use of jade reached its peak, turning into full-fledged jade suits. Historical sources indicate that emperors were buried in suits with gold thread, princes, princesses, aristocrats, and nobles in suits with silver thread, and relatives of lower rank with copper. However, Liu Sheng and Dao Wan lived in an earlier period, when a strict hierarchy had not yet been established, so they, as a feudal ruler and his spouse, were allowed to be buried in suits with gold thread. As we now know, jade is not capable of stopping the decomposition of the body. None of the jade suits found by archaeologists preserved flesh. Moreover, their enormous value attracted tomb raiders, which led to the destruction of tombs and even bodies. Since the discovery of Liu Sheng's tomb in 1968, about 20 jade suits from the Han era have been found in China, in Henan, Jiangsu, Guangdong, and other provinces. However, such finds remain extremely rare, which has made them objects of forgery. In the early 2000s, Beijing developer Xie Gunzhang forged one jade suit with gold thread and one with silver thread, using them as collateral to obtain a loan of hundreds of millions of yuan from the China Construction Bank. To prove their authenticity, Mr. Xie presented an appraisal report signed by 5 experts, including a former deputy director of the Forbidden City in Beijing and a former deputy head of the National Committee for Cultural Heritage Appraisal. The report valued the suits at a staggering $300 million. However, instead of investing in construction, Mr. Xie spent the money on personal luxury, leaving projects unfinished. In 2008, police arrested him and 2 bank employees on charges of fraud. Although the experts were suspected of bribery, no charges were brought against them due to lack of evidence. Gold is the wealth of this life, and jade is protection in the next. This difference reveals the essence of Chinese civilization. In many cultures, what is rare, shiny, and expensive is valued. In China, what was valued was what is deep, moral, and eternal. Jade in China was more valuable than gold, not in price. It meant more. Therefore, the next time you see jade in a museum, you should understand that you are not looking at a piece of jewelry, but at the embodiment of power, virtue, and immortality of an entire civilization. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, write a comment, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Once again, thank you all. Bye.